And welcome back. Okay, so let's move on. But before I go to talk about hypertonic solution, let me do a quick recap of what I said about hypertonic solution. Remember, I was explaining osmosis. I said it is movement of water molecules from a region of lower concentration to a region of higher concentration, right? But please quote me. There is a semi-permeable membrane in the case of mitosis. Let's keep that. We're coming there. Okay, so in this case of hypotonic now, the cell is placed in an environmental condition that does not have enough concentration, or that the concentration is not as high as that of the cell. So to balance it, the cell will absorb more water. The cell will absorb more water. So that cell becomes swollen. Look at it here, hypotonic solution. That is dilute solution. So the cell becomes swollen. It becomes swollen. That is that. Then the next one is hypertonic solution. It is the direct opposite of hypotonic solution, meaning that the cell is placed in an environmental condition that is having what? A higher concentration than the cell. Now let's look at it. Let's go back to what we did the other time. Remember that it was cell that gained water. In this case now, will the cell gain water? No. It's going to lose more water. So in the case of hypertonic solution now, the cell loses water. The cell loses water. It loses water. And what happened to that cell? The cell shrinks. It shrinks. I'm going to give a practical application of all these things, I think, in the next slide. Then the next one, the next solution, is what we call isotonic solution. When you hear iso, it means it balances. The scale is even. The scale is even. So what is here equals what is at the other side. So what the cell is having, the concentration in the cell balances that of the environmental condition. So what do you think would happen? There will be no net flow of water molecules. In the case of isotonic solution, can you see it here? Normal red blood cell. There is nothing happened to this red blood cell. It does not lose water and it doesn't gain water, because it is placed in an isotonic solution. Okay, now let's move on. So let me quickly explain osmosis. I remember I touched on it the other time. Okay, it is the movement of water molecules across a semi-permeable membrane. Now, what is a semi-permeable membrane? This is a board now. Now, this is a board, right? And this board cannot serve as semi-permeable. Why? Because of the structure of the board. Are you getting my point? Because of the structure of the board. A semi-permeable membrane means that a membrane that allows substances to pass, but it is choosing. It is not porous for all substances to pass through. Only a few can pass through. And that is why it is said to be semi-permeable. It is permeable, but not to all of them. It allows some, and it doesn't allow some. I'm sure all of us are like that too. There are some people that can come into your space, and you just give them that freedom. Do as you like. But there are some that you will not even allow them to come here. Now let's move on. Okay. It can also be said to be the movement of water molecules from a region of lower solid concentration to a region of higher solid concentration through a semi-permeable membrane until equilibrium is attained. Now, please stay with me. The ultimate aim of all these things I've been saying is that equilibrium must be attained. It must be reached. They must get to a point where what is happening here is also happening here. The concentration here is the same thing as what you have there. The concentration in the cell must balance with that of the environment. Okay, so let's move on. Now, I said example of osmosis include the shrinking of earthworm when placed in a salty environment or when salt is added to it. I'm sure some of us would have done that before, right? Some people maybe out of wickedness, I don't know. You see earthworm going on its own and you pour water on it. I mean, you add salt to it, right? Now, what it does is that the salt will definitely absorb the water from the earthworm. It will absorb all the water from the earthworm, and what will happen to the poor earthworm? It shrinks and dies. Okay, so let's move on. Okay, so the next one is diffusion. Whether you've done diffusion before, or you are just hearing it, I'm sure you have been involved in it before. I'm going to give you a practical example of diffusion. It is the movement of gases or liquid from a region of higher concentration to a region of lower concentration through a medium. Please stay with me. Through a medium which can either be a liquid or gas. Remember that this diffusion here does not involve semi-permeable membrane. It doesn't involve it. Now, it is through a medium which can be either liquid or gas. Let me give you an example. You're going out, you decide to carry your cologne and you spray yourself, right? That's diffusion. Because it will have to start spreading. Before you know it now, the people in the room will start perceiving it. And if you stay in the class and someone decides to bless the class in front, and those of us at the back to start perceiving, hey, who did this? The whole class starts smelling. It is also diffusion. Because at the first point of release, it's going to be very heavy. Then after a while, it's going to circulate. What has it done? It has moved from a region of higher concentration to a region of concentration. Now, in this case, what is the medium now? Gas. Right? The medium is gas. Then, in this case, now what you have here is liquid. Take, for instance, if you mix Coke and water together, that is liquid. It's also diffusion. It's also diffusion. Okay, now let's look at the differences between osmosis and diffusion. Now, osmosis involves the movement of water molecules alone. Please stay with me. There are some precision that I need to pay attention to here. It involves the movement of water molecules alone, while diffusion involves the movement of gases, liquid, and solid. Keep that. Now, the next one. Osmosis requires semi-permeable membrane. Now, diffusion does not need any membrane. It keeps moving. Then, osmosis, water molecules move between solution of different osmotic gradients. I'm going to explain this. When I said osmotic gradient, I'm talking about the concentration gradient. The concentration gradient. When I was explaining, when I was using earthworm and salt to explain that time, why the earthworm was able to lose water in it was because the concentration in earthworm was different from that of the environment, from the salt. You get my point now? If it happened that the two of them were to be in, that the earthworm was to be in the same concentration with the environment, there wouldn't have been any problem. I gave an example of the third type of solution, and that is what isotonic solution. There was no movement. Everything balanced. There was no movement. So there must be osmotic gradient. There must be difference in the concentration before osmosis can happen. Okay. But in the case of diffusion, molecules diffuse into any space that is accessible to them. They diffuse into any space that is accessible to them. Okay. So let's look at the possible JAMB questions that you might encounter from this topic. Okay, the first one is, which of the following is not a function of the nucleus of a cell? Please, I want you to pay attention to this. The nucleus is an important organelle in a plant, in an organism rather. Which one is not a function of the nucleus? Number one, option A, it translates genetic information for the manufacture of protein. It translates genetic information for the manufacture of protein. Now, please stay with me. There is an aspect of biology that you will still do. It is called central dogma. It is called central dogma, and it talks about the synthesis of protein. Okay, it talks about synthesis of protein, and that protein now, the information that is needed to code for the protein, to synthesize the protein, is found inside the nucleus here. And that is what this guy, option A, is talking about. Then the next one, it stores and carries genetic information or hereditary information. Please stay with me. I talked about nucleus having the DNA at the other time, right? There's no heredity, there's no passing down of trait without passing down of DNA. Am I with you, please? There's no passing down of trait without passing down of DNA. Why I look like my father, why you look like your mom, is because you have a bit from her. You have part of her, DNA in you. So this is also correct, because that DNA now is needed for heredity to take place. Then the next one, excuse me. It is reservoir of energy for the cell. It is reservoir of energy for the cell. Please stay with me. If nucleus is going to be reservoir of energy, underline the word energy, it means that the nucleus must have plenty of ATP. It means that respiration must be taking place in the DNA, in the nucleus. But no, respiration does not take place in the DNA. And it doesn't have plenty of ATP. So this is not one of the functions of the nucleus. Now, the organelle that does this is known as the mitochondria, not the nucleus. Okay, then the next one, it controls the life processes of all the cells, which of course is right. So our answer is C. Please take note, in case you are given that question when you are writing your exam. Now the next one of these is both present in plant and animal cell. One of these is present in plant and animal cell. Okay, the first one is cell membrane. We have cell wall, we have chloroplast, and we have blood vacuole. Please don't be confused. They said which one out of all these four is in plant cell and is also in animal cell. The answer is what? The answer is cell membrane, not C, please. The answer is cell membrane because the plant cell does not have, the animal cell does not have chloroplast. Chloroplast is found only in plant cell. Now, if you are labeling plant cell, we always write cellulose. What? Cellulose cell wall, right? Right? Now, it has two layers and another one. Now, this is the cell wall there followed by the cell membrane. Am I with you, please? So, the answer for that question is cell membrane. Cell membrane is present in plant cell and in animal cell. Then, the next one, the region of cell division in a root is dash. The region of cell division in a root is dash. Most guys will be confused about this, but I want you to pay attention to me. There is this word here called meristem. Meristem is not popular, it's not a popular word in biology. It's not a popular word, but when you hear meristem now, the word meristem means actively dividing. The word meristem means actively dividing. So those cells found at that region are said to be meristematic in nature. So they are called meristematic cells because they are actively dividing cells. They are actively dividing cells. Is that clear? They are actively dividing cells. So the answer for this question is meristem. It's not the root cap, it's not the endodermis, not the xylem, not the piliferous layer, but the meristem. Okay. The next one. In which of the following tissue do the cells have the ability to divide? Now, if you look at this question and you compare it to the last one, you should be able to tell me the answer. The answer is meristem. In which of the following tissue do the cells have the ability to divide? It is what? The meristem. Because that region of a cell is where you have actively dividing cells. And now ask me a question. That where is this meristem found? Where are the meristematic cells found in an organism? Okay, they are found at the apices. What do I mean by the apices? They are found at the tip. They are found here, because that is the part where cell division would definitely take place. So it's going to help the cell to either grow taller or to grow bigger. Okay, then the next one. Okay, so we move to genetic and variation. Genetic and variation. Genetic and variation. I hope what we have done concerning cell and its environment is clear to everybody. So we can move to cell and its, genetic and variation now. Now, this topic is very, very unpopular in biology. And I will tell you why. This topic is like one of the last topics in biology. So most times, maybe people are getting tired, people are already thinking of leaving secondary school, and we don't really pay attention to it. But it's very important. I can also tell you this gospel truth. JAMB has this habit. They have this attitude of bringing questions stylishly from this topic. No problem, guys. We're going to continue from here the next time we meet.